Hello and welcome to part 3 of how to make a regional database. In the last part 2, we looked at how to add all the people and the cities to the nation. And in the meantime, I've gone away and added all the remaining cities from the nation of Hampshire, or which is the county of Hampshire, to make the nation of Hampshire. And I've also added the people associated with those cities in the same manner that we did in the last video. Also, in that time, I tested the database to make sure it's working, to see what was happening. One of the key things that always needs to be noted is that you have enabled the continent here and got that working. If the continent says Europe, it will then add Hampshire as an additional nation to Europe. There's nothing else you need to do. You don't need to move Kazakhstan over into Asia like people used to do. And obviously when you did that, you would also have had to have moved a nation out of Asia. That doesn't need to happen anymore. Europe can handle the addition of an extra nation. So if you just put Europe in there, that adds Hampshire as an extra nation into Europe, and everything works quite well. Also to notice that you need a certain amount of people to have the national team manageable. I think it's I don't know where the actual cutoff is, but I think if you just keep adding people until it's playable, that's okay. I've got 260 added here, and it worked absolutely fine. The number could be anything, as low as 50. I think people used to say about 200, but I've no idea what it is. But yeah, just keep adding people, and if it's not playable, that's the reason why you haven't got enough people or enough players added to it. So let's have a look at the people. You can see in this column here, city of birth, you can see that I've added all of the cities to the nation. They're in the county of Hampshire. And I've also added all the people associated with those cities, as you can see here, all the people associated with the different cities. So that was what we did last time out, and that kind of set us up for the national team working. So it's almost like now all the teams are in the normal English league system, but Hampshire is its own separate nation. So you could even play now and just play Hampshire as a nation, playing in the as a national team manager, but that's all you could do. So what I also really wanted to do in a proper regional database is something that has its own league structure. And part of having its own league structure, you need to have your own nation rules. So let's have a quick setup of here. So let's actually create Hampshire as a nation. You'll only ever be able to find your nation in this list if it has its continent set. So if you can't find it in this list, it's probably that you're missing the continent. So I've gone into other nations here, and this is Hampshire, what was previously CIS. Hampshire's taken its place, and it's now available. We just keep this radio button here exactly where it is. I would leave all these alone. I don't think they make much of an impact on a database that runs over the winter. If you plan to have yours run over the summer, then of course you need to change these. So there we go. The national rules for Hampshire are now made, but as you can see, there are no divisions set, so we have to go away and create a league. In my written guide, I say probably add 6 to 8 teams initially, and because we're obviously doing a video here, I'm not going to go and do anything great. I'm just going to make a quick little competition with just 3 teams. So we'll call this the Hampshire Premier League. Would help if I could spell, but it's my first video, so I'm still learning. And we'll title that Premier League for short. And 3-letter name is Prem. Well, I think all of these things are worth changing. Things like the colours and stuff. I think they do have some impact somewhere. I haven't really noticed it myself, but I always change them anyway, just in case. Nation of this league is obviously Hampshire. So there we go, Hampshire. The continent is, of course, Europe. And if you're doing something different, then of course it'll be different. But I only know about Europe, and I know how to get things in Europe working. No parent competition. This is the Premier League. Reputation. I'm just going to set this as 500 arbitrarily. And again, this is a value you have to go away and match up to whatever you think it's going to be and balance it all out. And these things take time to actually. It seems 200 is the maximum there. Okay, so that's obviously my mistake. So I think probably set something quite low then, 100 for that one. I thought that was up to a larger value, but it's not. Use extra officials. These things obviously you can tick if you want to. I don't. Type domestic top division. This list can be quite complicated to use, but it's pretty self-explanatory if you stick to the basic things. Competition level. It's ticked because it's not a cup. and level 1. We're not going to use squad numbers. You can if you want to. Then you can set, this is quite important. I find this is really useful to set minimum pitch stuff, or you can get some really weird shaped pitches. And boundaries, especially if you're setting regional areas. These things are important to help keep things in check. Let's have a little look now at some teams. There's no teams in there. Okay. Well, if you remember in my written guide, I had a little bit of an explanation of what to do here. I make up a little search criteria. One of the first things is that the nation is nothing. The division is, I like to use, or contains a lower division. Actually, we'll just write the whole thing out. That helps get rid of a few other things. So it currently has no nation assigned to it and is in the A lower division. I brought back nothing. Okay, so probably this is the best one to do. That brings back loads of teams. Right, so from this, these are all the clubs that appear in a lower division below any of the leagues that exist in the game. So there's actually, thousands of teams in here. What you need to do is go and find ones that sound English naming. And because they're just going to take the place of your teams in the other league, which we'll get to. You can see there's loads and loads of different teams. Because I'm not really fussed, I'm not doing this as anything important. I'm just going to add 3 teams in here, chosen at random. Okay, there we go. So we've got 3 teams in our league. You can see they're taking on the nation name. That's not very important at this moment in time, because we're now going to actually go and look at finding our teams. So if we look at customize the we've got competition here, so we want to look for let's have a think. What would be championship? So let's have a look at championship. See what we get back. We've got we probably should actually be filtering this out here, and the nation is England. Should make it a little easier. Okay, Empower Championship, here we go. Now, any of our teams in here that we want, looking down the list, you can find, actually look, there's Southampton. Okay, obviously they've been promoted now, apparently, according to some guys at my work. So, not that I would know. What we can do with these things now, sorry, I just clicked off that by accident, is we can swap these guys to a lower division. So, what we'd do is we'd swap these down now to Empower. We put these guys, this obviously contains Empower. Obviously, you've got to be careful with your search filters. What we do now is we swap these with a team in the lower leagues. But one important thing I find is when you swap with a team from the division below, is that you put the next division is blank. And then you're not going to get it confused with teams that are going to get promoted or relegated. So we're moving from the Empower Championship to Empower Division 1. I'm not going to pick any specific team here. I'm just going to pick out one at random. So now what we'll find is that in the database, in the Empower Championship, there is now Huddersfield, who's taken the place of Southampton. And Southampton are now down a league in the next league. So if we continue to move our teams down, the idea is this is that you swap the teams until they end up in an unplayable league, and hopefully, fingers crossed, you're keeping England in a somewhat untouched and sort of the same state that it was before. So this is going to continue this manner and move all the teams down as you find them in the league structure. So there we go. We've moved them all now down to Empower League 2, or the one we've got so far. And you find that in this division you've got, here we go, Southampton again. We've already found one of the 3 teams. Move them down into a sort of an unplayable division. So you continue, you now move them into the I think it's still a blue square, I'm not sure. There we go, it is still a blue square. Now you move into Premier, promote a team, and move them down. And you do that again for Portsmouth, for the other team, and any other teams from the nation in the league. Once you've done that, and you've got all your teams into non-playable leagues, the next thing to do is to go back to your Hampshire Premier League. So all of your teams, you've cascaded them down, you've done the swap, you've swapped them all into a non-playable league, so below the blue square bet south for Hampshire. So they're all in the leagues below the blue square bet south. I haven't exactly done that, as you can see. I only got Hampshire into the Premier, but obviously we're running a bit out of time on this video. So let's move the next one across. What we're going to do is in the league here. Sorry, I've lost my place there. In the league here, we're going to take Haysgate and we're going to swap them with. We'll start with Southampton. Swap with Southampton first. So there we go. That should obviously be in a non-playable league, as in below the blue square bear south, but I've been lazy and not got that far. And then swap this one out for the team that I missed. I have to take the filter off there. So I found the filter. Portsmouth were in the Championship. Should have probably moved those down at the same time as Southampton, but it didn't. Should have done though. That would have saved me a lot of time. And another team, let's say, oops, lose my place a bit here. Another team would say swap that one with the usual example, Winchester. So here we go. We've got Winchester, we've got Southampton, we've got Portsmouth, all now in the Premier League. And they can see what's really been lucky is they've swapped the nations over. We swapped the nation is now Hampshire, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a real time saver that. And if you continue using this method of cascading your teams down out of playable leagues and into non-playable leagues, and then swapping them with teams that you've taken from a lower division or somewhere else, you'll end up leaving England in a relatively, or whichever parent nation it is, be it Scotland, France, Spain, Italy, whatever, you'll end up leaving your parent division, your parent nation, relatively untouched. There'll be obviously a few teams out of place, a few teams which you've moved up and down leagues, but generally overall, it sort of looks as it was before, and that's quite important to some people. And I think when I make a database, I don't want to give them a English league where there's a completely unknown team with a reputation of one in the Premier Division, because that makes it completely unrealistic. I used to do that, and it just seemed a bit stupid. And I thought, hang on, let's do something different. Let's cascade the teams down. So I developed that little method of first populating the league here with the unknown teams from outside of the English league structure in a way. Then cascading the teams down through the divisions to a non-playable league, and then swapping the teams out of the non-playable league and into the Hampshire Premier League. So now this is actually almost ready to go. We have to fill in a few details. We've done all these details here. We've got the teams in. And the last thing we need to do to make it playable as a league is go back to our nation rules, which we created earlier. General, what we do is we should go through and set up things like the transfer window. Important thing to do in this is take away the day and put it to a dash, or it tends to end up on a random day. And if you set the 1st of January, put the dates in as 2012, and you can obviously set that up with lots of different ones, because you'd want a 2011 transfer window as well, and you want that to run probably June to September. It will actually correct any of these things for you. So if you put in September, it should correct that back to September for you. It'll correct also the dates as well. So if I put in the 32nd of September, it'll correct that down to 30 for me. And to say I like to do is get rid of these and make it just dashes, because that sort of tidies that up a bit. Transfer rules. We'll go into all of this next time. I think actually we'll start talking about more advanced things to do with the division. But I'm just getting it ready for a quick test. So let's look at the actual adding the team itself. Adding it in pretty simple. Press on the Add League when you're in the Divisions tab. So just go back a second. So Divisions tab, Add League. Create a single division. Take the competition. Take the Premier League. And the number of teams 3. And go next. You can set all around details up here. Promotion places, relegation places. We'll set that to 0 to make sure it works. And that is added now. A normal way to quickly check that everything's okay is go to File, go to Validation, and it tells us the only thing we've got wrong is those transfer windows that we added in. So let's go back to the nation rules, go back to General, Transfer Windows. Let's just clear those off. If we now go to the File and back to Validation, tells us everything is valid. So there we go, that's part 3. In the next part, we're going to go in and look at those details that we decided not to do this time. So the advanced details of setting up a league and getting it all working. At this point in time, you could test it and it should work. I do advise regular testing, and also one thing, regular saving as a new version. So you can see this is now my 4th version, 0, 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, and now 1.3. Frequent saving and frequent testing in the database are very important so that you don't end up with any issues. So there we go, that's part 3 of how to create a regional database. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next part, and I hope you're enjoying the progression and learning a lot.